the drama continues because after DeShone Kizer was sat for last week's loss against the Texans, Hugh Jackson now says he's thinking about going back to DeShone Kizer after Kevin Hogan's awful game. Now, note where this came from. Note the timeline on this. Before the season, they acquired Brock Osweiler. One would imagine for Brock Osweiler to take snaps early on. They're paying a lot of money for him. They acquired him to get the draft pick with him from Houston, but you've got a veteran quarterback. You're probably going to be really bad again. Let Brock Osweiler start, right? Instead, no. They rip up that idea, they throw it out, and they say, you know what, Osweiler, we're just going to flat out release you, and we're going to start the kid DeShone Kizer. At the time, I said this is a mistake. I said behind a bad team, a bad offense, up and down coaching, up and down front office, why toss a kid into the fire on a terrible football team to just break him? Why? He's not going to get better because he's playing on an 0-16 team. And he's not Peyton Manning, where one of the greats of all time can withstand being on a 3-13 football team and get better from it. DeShone Kizer was not Peyton Manning. DeShone Kizer was raw in college, raw coming out of college, had plenty of flaws anyway, and was going to play on a terrible football team. I said it was a mistake. Put Brock Osweiler in there, let him take the bullets, go 0-8 with him, and then you can put in DeShone Kizer final 8 weeks of the season or final 6 weeks of the season or final month of the season. Instead, they start DeShone Kizer. He is 0-5. He has the worst quarterback rating in football at 49. Note that a perfect quarterback rating is 158. He has a 49. And they sit him. Either hoping for a spark with Kevin Hogan or maybe giving DeShone Kizer a breather so that he doesn't have the pressure having to go out there and try to perform. Either way, it's a disaster. As you can imagine, DeShone Kizer sits, and that just means the next guy up is awful as well. That's Kevin Hogan. He's trash, and they lose easily. They're not even starting Cody Kessler, who they drafted. Cody Kessler's in street clothes. Okay, so another wasted quarterback pick. So now Hugh Jackson is in the middle of a storm, or middle of a story at least last weekend, where DeShone Kizer is sitting. That's the guy that they picked. Because they traded out of the pick to get Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson's playing against them. Deshaun Watson's talking about or being asked about what happens if you actually were playing for Cleveland. And he says, Hugh Jackson texted me that I should be ready. I should be ready to get drafted. And then they traded out of the pick where they could have selected me, and that's where the Texans grabbed me. Hugh Jackson's asked about this and said, no, that didn't happen. Deshaun Watson's like, no, it definitely happened. You texted me and said, be ready. What it tells you is that the Cleveland Browns have such a disconnect between coach and front office that they were talking about drafting Deshaun Watson. Hugh Jackson did reach out to Deshaun Watson. They could have drafted Deshaun Watson. Then suddenly there was a team that would have given them a draft pick to trade into that slot, and they said, we'll take the draft pick. And then Deshaun Watson obviously beats them, and Kevin Hogan obviously looks like trash. And now following that decision, Hugh Jackson's going, well, I might go back to Deshaun Watson now. Oh, well, that certainly worked. Well, I think that decision-making process is brilliant. We're at the point in time where Hugh Jackson could get canned, Sashi Brown could get canned, Paul Podesta could get canned, and this all starts from an owner that has been in over his head, in over his skis since the day he bought into the NFL. Embroiled in controversy off of the field, lawsuits against him for business malpractice, and now also running the most dysfunctional organization in football and arguably all of the 4 professional major sports that we have. And your front office and your head coach is once again under fire, desperately seeking for anything as a spark because they're worried about getting canned after year 2, which would just put you on the Cleveland Browns carousel of misery yet again when you have to rehire a front office and a head coach.